Let's talk about whole grains and some great breakfast ideas. Hello and welcome to WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining me in the studio is Jan Dougan. She is the Purdue Extension Educator, one of our favorite guests here on WJTS in.form. Jan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having us. We always appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience about Purdue Extension.
Now, what's neat is in this time we're going to talk a little bit about whole grains, and then we're going to show a kitchen clip from Purdue Extension that will have a recipe for you. But first of all, when we talk about whole grains, what are whole grains?
So when we talk about whole grains, Bill, we're talking about less processing of the grain, and they utilize the whole grain in the product. So it's not a refined grain. And you know, one of probably the most typical examples that you can find on the grocery shelf is oatmeal. So we want to encourage everyone to think about eating their oatmeal to get whole grains.
Okay, which is, for some reason to me, I don't think of that as a whole grain, but it makes sense. Are whole grains all gluten intensive, or can they be gluten free?
Okay, so they can be gluten free. Okay. So that's a whole nother topic about gluten and whole grains. But what we want to talk about today is the benefit of whole grains for people, and what the new research is showing us that I'm trying to share with everyone that I talk to is that we think about fruits and vegetables and the antioxidants that we get from fruits and vegetables, and that they're really healthy for us to eat. Well, whole grains are just as healthy, and the new research is showing that we can benefit from whole grains just like we benefit from eating fruits and vegetables.
Okay, so other whole grains would be, let's see, oatmeal, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. What are other whole grains, like wheat?
Wheat, rye, barley. Those are just a few that I can think of off the top of my head. You need to look on your nutrition label, which I know you've been reading nutrition labels. You need to look on that label, and you need to look for the word whole, W-H-O-L-E, in the ingredient list in front of the grain name. So if it's whole corn, that's a whole grain. If it just says corn, then that's not a whole grain product. So, you know, some tortillas might be corn tortillas. If they say whole corn used in the product, it's a whole grain tortilla.
Yeah, now, you did not bring me breakfast. You brought me an empty container.
I did bring you an empty container. But we're going to talk about oatmeal.
What does the empty container and oatmeal have in common?
Well, I want to tell you what you could do with this empty container. And it doesn't have to be a plastic container like this. It could be a plastic container. It could be a glass container. I like to use pint jars when I create cold oatmeal for breakfast. It is so easy to do, and it's quick to have the next morning. So what you would do is, whatever container you're using, you would put, if you like a little oatmeal in the morning, a third cup of oatmeal. If you like a lot of oatmeal in the morning, you'd put a half a cup of whole old-fashioned oats in here. They work best, not the quick oats.
Okay, we're talking about the ones that come in basically in the round container.
Yes.
Not the 2-minute ones you rip open.
No,
and
not the instant bags of oatmeal, and not the quick oats. They work, but not as well as the old-fashioned oats when you're going to do this. Okay, so it's either a third a cup or a half a cup of oatmeal in the container, and then you add an equal amount of milk or almond milk or coconut milk, whatever kind of milk you're drinking these days, to the container. Then you can add any kind of seasoning if you want nutmeg or cinnamon or spices of any kind, and then you can add fruit. So if you want peaches or strawberries or berries, or if you want dried fruit like raisins and craisins, you can add those to the top. And then on the top of that, you can put your heart-healthy walnuts or almonds on top of that. Then you set it in the fridge overnight. The next morning you get it out and it's ready to eat.
You don't cook it.
You don't cook it. You do eat it cold, so that's a little different for some people. This is very popular to do in Europe, but it's a trend that's really catching on in our area, and it's ready to go in the morning. If you have to get out the door fast, you can take breakfast with you, breakfast to go. Eat it when you get to the office or to your work location, or eat it later on anytime in the morning.
For some reason, I always thought oatmeal had to be cooked.
No, it does not. The milk is absorbed by the oats during the overnight process in the refrigerator, and it makes for a delicious breakfast. But if you want something hot, that has oatmeal, then you might want to try this recipe from our kitchen clips that Monica is going to show us how to do. Baked apple walnut oatmeal in the oven.
Let's watch the clip.
Start your morning right and put an end to sluggish mornings with a heart-healthy breakfast. Baked apple walnut oatmeal is a low-sodium, whole-grain dish to help keep you feeling full all morning long. So we first started by preheating our oven to 350 degrees, and I have pre-greased our glass baking dish that we'll be baking our recipe in. The first ingredient I'm going to add is our oatmeal. Oatmeal is a great whole grain to help us feeling full. Next, I will add apples. This is a great fall breakfast because apples are nice and fresh in the fall. So we'll add a whole apple already pre-chopped. Next, the recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of raisins, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit today. So I have some craisins, golden raisins, and also just plain raisins. And so we're gonna add some of each. Add lots of color to the recipe. And next we will add walnuts. Nuts add very good healthy fats to our recipe, so if you can use nuts in any of your recipes, that's fine. But if you prefer to leave them out, that's okay as well. So we're gonna add these walnuts. And then our last dry ingredient is some nutmeg and cinnamon. And lastly, we're going to add our wet ingredients to our dry ingredients. So in this pan, we've been simmering 2 cups of milk with 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And lastly, we'll just give it a little stir to combine. We will pour in our mixture, and we're going to bake this for 30 minutes in a 350 degree oven. But first we will need to cover it with foil. I have topped my baked oatmeal with yogurt and raspberries. And now I am ready to enjoy my heart-healthy baked apple walnut oatmeal.
Looks like a recipe we need to try at home. That is Monica, I think you said it was?
Yes, Monica.
And she showed us how to make a special recipe with oatmeal. These kitchen clips that we've been showing here on WJTS in.form through Purdue Extension, there's multiple recipes. How can we find some of those?
So there are several recipes that different educators throughout the state of Indiana have created in the food demonstrations. And if you go to a Purdue Extension website and Google or search on the website kitchen clips, Purdue Extension kitchen clips, all of them come up, or you can go on YouTube and you can find them. Some great quick and easy recipes that you can prepare at home for your family.
Jan, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, Bill. We always appreciate it, and we hope that everyone listening and watching will try to eat more whole grains.
Well, I think I'm going to have oatmeal for breakfast tomorrow. Thank you for watching WJTS in.form. We are local people watching local people.